Chasing outliers and trends might look smart, but understanding your own swing is what actually works. What's up, Lion Golf Academy members and guests, welcome back. So I got a comment from last night's video asking me to take a look at JuJu Golf. Now I never heard of JuJu Golf, so I said, what could this possibly be? I went to their YouTube channel and I was greeted with a unique style. Now we're gonna watch a video of him explaining the golf swing. We're also gonna diagnose his swing to see if it actually occurs. We're also gonna diagnose his daughter's swing, and then we have Matt Wolff at the very end. But it got me thinking about all this stuff out there, and I want to say something to you. But before you do that, do me a favor, hit that quick like. It really helps us grow. And here's what I wanted to say. There is nothing truly new in the golf swing. It's a motion refined over generations, limited by two constants: the human body and the design of the tool, which is the golf club. Social media has bridged what used to be knowledge once held by craftsmen who lived and breathed this game. But that same access has created surface level understanding, fueling the Dunning-Kruger effect, where exposure is mistaken for expertise. Now, this isn't to devalue the information being shared. Some of it can help people, but it can also hurt the majority. There are over 66 million golfers worldwide. So if even 1% benefit from a special method, that's 660,000 players. That's more than enough to create a visible movement, a trend, a community that swears by it and spreads it. But just because it helps 1% doesn't mean it's good for the other 99%. In fact, it can quietly destroy the average golfer's progress by forcing a swing that doesn't match their body, tendencies, or reality. Even at the elite level, there are outliers, players with rare physical traits, timing, or learned adaptations that let them succeed in unconventional ways. But the issue comes when we start comparing ourselves to tour pros, and worse, when we use those outliers as proof that a certain method should work for everyone. It doesn't. The best players in the world may look different, but they share critical similarities. They maintain posture around a setup that matches their grip, ball position, and body. Those three ingredients shape their swing and yours. The goal isn't to copy, it is to understand your own cause and effect, because chasing something that wasn't built for you almost always leads to frustration. With that in mind, let's go check this out. Okay, so this is that video that was linked to me, and what I've done is I've cropped a lot of it out because it goes into the history of why he designed this swing and his whole journey behind it. It's pretty interesting. If you want to go check it out, the link is in the description below. But let's just take a look, because I cropped a couple of these things out that he goes over that I think could be beneficial to hear from his point of view, and then I'll also make my comments based on what we hear.
Did the laser beam thing, and I just went to right here. And boy, that felt really good. Right, that felt really different, okay? But zero movement in my wrist, okay? I could drop a ball from right here, right? This is my step one, right? I could drop a
So zero movement in the wrist. Let me just move my head out the way and let me just watch that one more time.
different, okay? But
So if you notice in that position here, and what we're going to do is break down this swing, because he actually takes a full swing here, but you will notice that that club head is closed relative to his spine angle. So I think there might be some misconception of what is feel versus real again, because those wrists certainly do close down relative to his spine. And the more I watch this swing, and we have multiple swings of other students that he's posted that we'll take a look at. We'll also look at Matt Wolff too at the end, just to show you why he is on tour and he's able to do this. Is probably just because of this one move. Anytime you accentuate some motions going back, specifically here when you start to close that club face down, what you're doing is delaying what's going to occur later in the swing. And I'll make more reference to this when we diagnose his swing, but I just wanted to get that across. But let's keep going.
zero movement in my wrist, okay? I could drop a ball from right here, right? This is my step one, right? I could drop a ball from right here. What happened was shocking to me. I got to here, I made sure I had a transition, some sort of, I call it a left hip bump, that's what I teach. I'm not a P3, P9, all these Ps, I'm not that kind of guy. I don't talk in terms like that, never have. I'm a field player. I get my players into positions that work for them. Just that's how I teach.
So I think that's a very key point, is he is a feel player. Now the issues with feel players is what they feel versus what actually occurs could be two different things. I'm not saying it's always that way, but chances are there is some discrepancy between what you feel and what is actually occurring. Now the issue when you do have a feel-based player, and they're trying to instruct. Sometimes that field-based mentality carries over to positions they're trying to describe or explain. I'm not saying it's occurring here, but I'm just keeping you aware when you do watch these videos to pick up on these small things that some of these instructors are saying.
Not everyone loves that, some people do. And so from here, okay, as I started to push, as I started to bump and transition, which was key for me, right, because you didn't want to get here and then set and then go. It ruined everything, right? It actually just turned it into a weird traditional golf swing. It did not work. So the key was there had to be a movement, a transition into the down.
Now, the irony of this is when we will break this down, you will see how actually close this is to a traditional golf swing. The only thing that is really changing is the motion of the hands and arms. Now, to me, traditional is rotation. Traditional is maintaining your spine angle. Traditional is using your tilting and your rotation and impact correctly based on your ball position. And the one thing that separates the best in the world from us is they are able to maintain their posture. 99% of those people you see on television maintains their posture, and he actually maintains his posture very well. So his body is very traditional. His hands and arms might not be, but to me, the hands and arms, you can get away with a lot more things if your base, meaning your body, is set and maintains his posture throughout the motion, which is something he actually does very well.
So before I allowed that right wrist to go, okay, and what happened was from here, the closed 200-yard hook turned into this, right? And all of a sudden, my eyes got really big because not only did it feel powerful, but the club kept returning to the same spot over and over and over. And I didn't have to manipulate it. This never moves, right? This is your lever. From here to here, this will never change unless my arm grows 3 inches, which I'm pretty sure my arm's done growing, right? So from here to here, okay, right?
Okay, so this is a really good point to look at. And what this helps people that swing like this do is maintain their width right away. They get extremely wide. Now, in order to do that, you have to be fairly flexible in certain areas of your body, specifically in your left side. So you have to be able to maintain your posture and your tilting. So we're going to look at his shoulder tilt and see if he maintains it, maintains his posture. But this is a very good position if you can do it. Now, you notice that club head there is definitely closed relative to his spine angle, so there is manipulation on the way back that he is doing. I'm not saying that it happens on all his students, but in this particular video there's definite manipulation, and we will look at his swing and see, does he manipulate it as much? And we also have his daughter too, which I'm excited to watch as well.
It's never going to change. So now I've eliminated a lot of variables in my mind, okay? The rolling of the forearm, the rolling of the wrist, the setting of the hands. From here to here, it was identical every time. So I would go back, step 1, I would transition, bump, and boom, my club face is dead square. Okay? Okay? So we're going to take our position 1, right, which is here. We lock that position in, and all I wanted to do was go from here and lift this back of this right hand straight to the sky, but we wanted that shaft to match my spine angle. And what happened was when I added the bump, and I had this tremendous setting. I didn't know what shallowing was back then, and for consistency.
And we're going to keep in mind that term of setting, and we'll take a look at the way he sets these angles on the way down too.
I don't think you can have an easier way to repeat something. Rather than fanning the toe open, setting here, do we set here? Do we lift up our arms and then set? Nobody really knows what they want to do, especially the higher handicaps. They struggle with that. And it changes every day, and this never changes, right?
Now you have to look at why the average handicap, if it's true, struggles with this, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with the arm positions. The arms are there to try and make up for whatever the body is lacking. So typically when amateurs do have an issue with their hands rolling over too much, lifting up too much, it's due to a lack of the ability to turn and tilt according to their setup. And when that occurs, now all you are left to do is, hey, I got to get my hands and arms involved. And that's where we start to see some discrepancies with the higher handicap. Now that could come from different causes. It can come from your body not being able to stay in its posture. It could come from past injuries. It could come from the inability to sequence correctly. A lot of things are attributed to what he is trying to describe. And you know, that motion for him probably allows him to get that turn, get the width, and stay connected. So for him, again, this works wonderfully, and for many people this can work wonderfully, but you got to be very careful to make sure it is right for you.
we do certain drills where we practice getting to step one, and this never changes. This move, right, never changes, right? We're not rolling, we're not cupping under.
So just to emphasize, it never changes if your body can turn and tilt correctly to keep that connection.
Underneath, right? We're just taking this position, okay, and taking it to right here, right? And this wrist doesn't move. And then we take this position and we take it up to here, right? And so now we've eliminated, when I always tell people it eliminates variables, that's what I'm talking about.
So it might not eliminate variables, it delays the variables, because now you've taken what was used to be a lot of this rolling and hinging early in his quote-unquote traditional swing, and you've delayed it to now you have to hinge and roll on the way down. So you've just delayed the process. What he has essentially done is made sure he's wide, made sure he's connected. So there are some positives to this. We haven't erased anything in the golf swing. He still has to get some hand rolling and hand manipulation. He's just delayed it slightly.
In the forearms, wrists, hands, fingers, right? Club face. It's eliminating all these variables. And for everyone that says the club face is closed, well, it would be closed if we took it back and twisted our hand.
So that is definitely closed, obviously. Now, I'll show you as we diagnose his swing that he does get it closed.
Hands in this way, right? And rotated the club face, right? The club face never rotates, right? It gets here, we take it back, we come right under to here, right palm to the ground, club face to the ground, right? And we're
So just remember that, right palm to the ground.
There's no rotating or manipulating of the club, because it does. It eliminates all these extra parts that are moving going back. It eliminates the questions of what we're doing. And we know that, boom, we hit step one, boom, we hit step two, we bump, we step, we...
Okay, so again, it doesn't necessarily eliminate it from the swing entirely, it just delays everything. But let's just take a look at the full swing in slow motion, put our Barney Purple to work, and let's see what it's all about. Okay, so I've changed screens, so my head's gonna be pointing this way. So in case you think I'm like Stevie Wonder looking out into yonder, I'm not. I'm just looking at a different screen. So we have him on screen now, and let's use, you know who's coming up. We gotta use our favorite Barney Purple and do the lower plane line and the upper plane line. Now, why is this important? Because this is basically, we're gonna look at this like a traditional diagnosis, because we heard from him that this is not traditional, but I am under the opinion that the body is very traditional-like, and the arms are obviously going to be different. Now, if you take a look at all the best players in the world, their bodies are pretty close to each other, meaning that they keep in their posture, they rotate and tilt correctly, their balance is correctly, their sequencing is correctly. Those are the best in the world. Now, their arm positions and their hand manipulation, that's all independent. That's okay, because that's where your character comes out, that's where your DNA comes out. But all of them, they all share the body schematics much closer than the hands and arms. Now we're going to take a look at Mellow Yellow and use him for our spine angle, and we can see that's a pretty severe spine angle, and I would imagine that his clubs are probably flattened out some degrees. For instance, let's just take a look at his back brace line, then also from the arches of the heel straight up to the sky, and we can see that this is a heel based swing. And how you know that is you take a look at what your lower plane line is and your spine angle, where they meet. You take a look at the arches of the heels up in the sky, and you can kind of see how much weighting is on the back or the front. Now, it's not exact, but it's good enough for you know who government work. But let's just break this down. Let's just take this club back, and we see that same sort of Matt Wolff type of move where they kind of open up, and that's unusual. And I don't know if they're copying each other or if this just comes with the territory, but take a look. And now let's draw right here. We can see that club head on the right side. Now, in his practices, you heard him say he gets that right palm to the ground. You can see the right palm isn't quite to the ground as he would like or exaggerate it to, so I don't think that he actually gets the right palm to the ground as much as he describes in this video. We can also take a look at that club face angle, which is right there, and it is starting to close relative to his spine angle. Now, it might not be much, but it's starting to close down. Now, if he were to really get that right hand down like he says, the right palm would be here, and that club head would definitely be closing down. So the more that right hand gets down, the more that club is going to get down. If you truly rotate and tilt around your spine, the club head will be parallel with your spine angle. Now, it all depends on what your spine angle does. So if your spine angle raises up, naturally that club face will also start to straighten out with your spine angle, and vice versa. So it's very important to be able to stay in your posture. Then you can get a consistent club face relative to whatever that is doing. So think about this. The body is providing the foundation for your hands and arms to work around. As long as that stays the same, you can do whatever you want with your hands and arms. It'll develop around that consistent body. But if your body keeps moving, all the time and it's not consistent, your hands and arms can't have the foundation to build their habits. And you need foundation to create habits. So let's go to the very top, and it's a little bit challenging with this video, but we do have other videos to look at. But we can see that club, if we take a look at the amount of motion it has, it goes from a closed position, meaning the shaft is closed relative to his spine angle. As he gets right through, now it's about level, which is good. And he gets to the top, it is now starting to open up to that spine angle. So it's not necessarily staying level with his spine angle as he turns, as he's thinking. It's just going from one plane to the next plane, which is somewhat traditional, and at a different way. So the way he's doing it is trying to maintain that width. Now we can see we don't get a lot of hip turn here, and that's going to suffer the shoulder turn, which will also make the arms cross the chest. So we can see the arms have already crossed to the right side of his chest. So there is some crossing going on, and if he was truly connected and truly doing what he was saying, at this point of the golf swing, we would see that club more in line with the center of his body. And we get to that secondary plane line pretty close to where he should have got it. Now, you would imagine that if somebody is really accentuating this and getting that turn and tilt, that their hands would be much higher. Now, I believe his daughter gets that position, but he's struggling to get that position. But we take a look at the triangle check, and you can see that butt of the club is on that secondary plane line. And let's take a look at the motion of the hands and arms. Now, we take a look at that. So already we see that movement to the right. Now, that's a sign that there's not a lot of turn on the way back. You don't get deep enough. So you better reconnect by moving back down. But because he doesn't turn enough, he's instantly turning slightly, and that pulls that club steep. So as he gets to this position here, the next frame, we will see it's pretty steep. Now remember, he talked about getting the feeling of shallowing and bringing it back around, but I just don't see evidence of it here. I see just a normal steeper swing, and now that's going to involve the hands or arms to get involved. But we can take a look at this position. What he did a great job at is staying his posture fairly well. We can see that back brace line, and the green line is against that back brace line. We do see, however, a standing up at impact, which will also create some issues with your planes and your release points. So to me, this is closer to a traditional swing than something that's revolutionary. It's, in my opinion, it's not too revolutionary. Just like the intro said, golf has been around for countless of years, and there's many people that have tried different things. So let's take a look at his daughter now. Now, I would imagine this would be a lot more efficient on somebody that is more flexible, that is younger, that can actually hit these positions like he would like you to do. But let's just take a look. We're going to do the setup real quick, all in Ivan Red, but we're going to go straight down into impact and see what do we have that's different with this one. And right at impact, bam, look at that. This is, to a T, a perfect impact position for her. Now, I say that because look at her spine angle, look at her back brace line, and look at her shoulders. Her shoulders have added tilt. Now, obviously, you want this to occur. This is a natural thing that occurs. If your sequencing is correct, you will naturally add shoulder tilt. Now, how much shoulder tilt does she add? Let's get a quick little shoulder check number, and let's do this in Gumby Green. And what we'll see is we have 67 at the very top of her swing. She has 42. So yes, she falls right into tour average. It's 15 to 25 degrees. She's at 25 degrees. So far, again, the main core of the body looks very traditional. But let's take a look at this backswing. So this is the key point. So here we have somebody that still has a better right hand going down, and we see it's matching that lower plane line, which is pretty good. But if we start to look at that shaft angle, let's take a look at that shaft angle. This one is pretty closed to where it should be at this point in the golf swing if you're able to stay truly connected to your turn and tilt. So we do see some hand manipulation. He is almost doing the reverse of what traditional does. He's rolling the other way, and what this does is it put pressure to add your tilt, and we can see that tilting has increased right here. So it's slightly lower with the left shoulder. That should be perpendicular to your spine angle. Here it's lowering down. So we see some effects of this wide and connected swing. So it's beautifully connected, by the way. You can see here, this is much more connected than Dad. Sorry, Dad, if you're watching, but this is perfect. It's connected to that chest. So everything is looking really good, and it looks quote unquote traditional to me because the body is doing a traditional motion. We get to that secondary plane line, and we can see this is more what I would think people like this swing, where the hands get above the secondary plane line. We've accentuated some tilt. So now let's take a look at her tilting. Her tilting is definitely much more down. So you definitely need a body style to do this successfully. Now we're going to take a look at Matt Wolff after this, and you'll see Matt Wolff hits everything perfectly. But now we're going to take a look at this first move. Look at that. The arms just drop straight down. So this is beautiful. So now she's getting that angle to pull inside. Plus she's getting her sequencing corrected. She's not firing from the top. She's not moving this independently. We can see that left side is moving. It's starting the motion. The sequencing is correct. As we get down to here, now it's just a normal golf swing. So this is just rerouting. It's just a glorified reroute, in my opinion, based on a fundamentally sound traditional body motion, which is pretty normal. As we go down to the impact, we see the club gets below that playing line, and obviously that's due to the right shoulder getting really tilted at this point, which is great. So now she can swing more up, and as we strike the golf ball, we see that incredible position at impact, and that release point is still, look at that, it's traditionally in between the two playing lines, so it's going around her body very well. So this swing works wonders for her. Would I recommend this to anybody else so far? I'd say yes. There's some people that can this definitely help. This wouldn't be my first option. I would look for other ways. This doesn't shy away from reducing moving parts. All we're doing is delaying the moving parts later in the swing, and some people can do it and some people might have an issue doing it. Okay, and last but not least, we have Matt Wolff. Now let's take a look at the difference between what Matt Wolff does and what we see. And as we take this club back, we can probably see something a little bit different that Matt Wolff does than what we hear is explained there. So we see that same picking up. Now we don't see an exaggerated shoulder tilt at this point. Look at the shoulder tilt. The shoulder tilt is perpendicular to the spine. He's staying his back brace line. There is no added tilt. There's no decreased tilt. We also see that club face is matching his spine perfectly. So this is a great backswing because of that. It is still very connected, even though the path of the hands are changing. We're not changing fundamentals here of a traditional golf swing. We get to the top of the plane and we can see, you will guess it, that this hand will get higher, but take a look what happens. It does not get higher than that secondary plane line. It actually meets his secondary plane line perfectly. All that has changed is he is able to hold his shaft angle perpendicular to his spine. So this is great, and it extends down to his right elbow. So we can see how he's going to drop this in is that right elbow will kick down, and that will start the whole chain reaction for him while he gets his sequencing. So as we get down to the impact, there goes that right elbow, which will help him shallow the club, and all of a sudden we take a look at that club face. That club face is pretty square to his left forearm, so we have, look at this, it's right where it needs to be, and it's starting to look like tic-tac-toe. So let's delete some of these lines here, but let's keep going. As we come on through, we can see that club face is now closing down, and it's not closing down as much with the hands, but it's closing down because of the turn of the body and the tilt, and using that correctly to get that close to that lower plane line. So it's not as shallow as somebody that has more tilt at this point, and that's great, because too much shallow, you got to run some issues as well. Now as we get down to impact, that last second impact, take a look at this position here. On the left side of the screen, we can look at the shoulder tilting. We also look at where those hands are matching that shoulder tilting, and we have what appears to be a slight forward press. But the great thing about this with that increase of tilting is watch the hands. The hands will just match that tilting and go along that lower green line, which means his hands are essentially moving up. And how does he do this? With correct sequencing, moving the body over, and the upper body stays back to get that tilting. But overall, I mean, these are all basically traditional swings with different paths of the hands when you take it back. So we're going to watch this in the background while I give my summary of what I think this swing is. And I just tell you this swing can probably work wonders for that small percentage of golfers that do need it. Now, would you try this willy-nilly? Hey, it's your swing, do what you need to do. I think there's great merits to the swing. I can see how it can develop a lot of power, because specifically if you are a field player and you like to feel the club in your fingertips, and I would imagine by taking that club out and getting that club head above here, you are now activating your fingers. So if you are a field-based player, this might resonate with you more. So I say what? Give it a chance. Go check out his channel. Go look at his videos. He's definitely knowledgeable in this type of swing. I'm looking at it purely as a instructor about cause and effect, and looking at what I would do with some students. If a student came to me with this swing, I wouldn't change it if he's producing consistent results with his misses, his or her misses. It's not how well you hit the golf ball, it's how your misses are. So if you have big misses with this swing, it might not be for you. If it controls your misses, this might be your swing. So don't mock it till you try it. Hope that helps you. I'll see you next time. Don't forget, send me videos for Sunday. We go live 6 o'clock p.m. PST Standard Time, and it's all for free. Fairways and greens.